anyway, I wanted to make sure you guys understand that it's not, you know, I don't even think I need this light. I don't know if I need the light. Because I grab the light and I put it over here. Anyway, it's not that I think anything bad will happen to my mom per se from abruptly stopping those antibiotics. Okay? And as for her being back on whatever she was on, you know, the regimen she was on before, prior to being briefly involuntarily sectioned into this mental hospital, this thankfully didn't wind up being the one where the last 2 out of 3 times she landed in the local ER within a couple of days after entering their facility. And I believe it's because they treated the doctor in there, different doctors each time treated her like a human guinea pig. And, you know, you're under duress going into a mental hospital. You're my elderly mom. You're under duress. You don't need to be pumped full of Thorazine. You know what I mean? It's like my elderly mom who's already on a shitload of other meds. Anyway, thanks to me and only thanks to me. Because remember, my mom's memory is, you know, it's not the best. She doesn't remember things. It broke my heart when it hadn't been that long. Maybe a couple of months, I don't know. But she doesn't remember the dentist incident that, you know. The dentist incident between me and the bitch. That was the catalyst for the bitch to start feeling justified and things turning around in her big ass head. Remember, she's like half my age and obese. She definitely got to be in 20s, at the most early 30s. They all are, except for the nurses. They're generally a little bit older. A lot older. Give or take. Doesn't matter. Octopus with a million legs. Too many people in the pot. Too many hands in the pot. Anyhow, it's not about that. Although I don't think that's good. I don't believe in antibiotics anyway, but I know if you're on them, you don't abruptly stop them. It's about the whole thing. It's disgusting. It's about my mom's voicemail to me, followed by her talking to me on the phone, but I have the proof in the voicemail. Laura, this doctor in here, he says I'm on too many meds, and he's going to reduce my meds. I'm just taking Prolixin now, and he's going to take me off the shot, and no more Zyprexa. Isn't that great, Laura? Isn't that wonderful? In the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then when I talked to her in person, because I didn't want her to have her hopes dashed, you know, find out the hard way once she gets out, I said, Mom, you know that the mental, when you get out, you know from past experience, whenever you're in a mental hospital, they do what they want, but then the outside psychiatrist, once that person, that doctor has control over you again, and you're under his or her care, that doctor can do what he wants to do. He doesn't have to follow the regimen of, that's how it works. Okay? And generally, and most of the time, it worked against my mom. Because the motherfucking doctors in the mental hospitals they drugged her up, and then her little nurse practitioner twit just went along with whatever it was, even if it's 100 milligrams of this thing that began with T that I've come to find out, it's supposed to be as needed anyway, and it's okay if you drug the patient up while they're safe in your mental hospital. It's not okay when they're cooking at home and around their daughter and 2 dogs and can't even keep their eyes open during the day because you've drugged them off on something. One of my former friends, whatever, online later said she should have never been on that in the outside. That's way too much. I have it in my stash. I forget what it's called. But it's one of those things that they drug up the patients with, and my mom and I took it upon myself to say, you're not taking that, Mom. You're putting us in danger. You're putting yourself and all of us, the three other, me and Omer and Angel, in danger. You're not taking it. I don't care. I'm not going to ask permission from anybody. And we reduced it down to 25 milligrams a night. She didn't need it, and it was making her. She couldn't function during the day. If you can't function, you don't take that med. But if I wasn't in the picture, my mom would have dutifully done whatever she's told. And her sister didn't care. Her elder services is after us. Samantha, you need to comply with your meds and take whatever that mental hospital doctor puts you in. On. Oh my God, I could write a fucking book. That I didn't care. I took it upon myself. If you look on the bottle anyway, which I didn't even find out till after I made my executive decision that my mother was afraid to make. I'm like, Mom, you're in danger. You know, God help us if you were living alone. No. I wasn't here to see all this shit. But I already know if I wasn't here and you had been put on that lithium and whatever. It's written down, she's just allergic to it. As far as I'm concerned, it's because lithium is horrible and it's too potentially dangerous. Anything dependent on your food and liquid intake that can change when you get out of a mental hospital compared to when you're at home. I mean, did I know any of this? No. I knew nothing, nothing, until I went and researched it after the fact, and I was horrified. All I knew was something wasn't right. This can't be my mom for the rest of her life. This cannot be her permanent baseline. There's something seriously wrong, and oh my God, was I right. She was lithium toxic. She could have gone into kidney failure and died. She was almost twice the therapeutic level in her blood of lithium. Thank God, because she was getting more confused, and if I wasn't here to watch out for her, she probably wouldn't be here right now. The more confused she got, she was never gonna take it upon herself to. She screamed, no, and I said, Mom, I need to call the ER, the emergency, something. Please let me. And she, no, please, Laura, please don't do it to me. She begged me. Did the next best thing. Got her, talked secretly behind her back to her. I talked to her nurse practitioner, Twit, and I got my mom the help she needed. We got her to get blood work done. I said, Mom, you could be lithium toxic. You have got to get blood work done. Fortunately, where she could get blood work was also located where her, where she was seeing her therapist and whatnot. And it was we were going to get her to the hospital. We did it together, and I got to ride in the ambulance, actually. They let me. Let me ride in the front. That wasn't the first or last time, but I got to ride in the front. The ambulance, I don't have a car. And my mom wound up, she was scared, she was awful. I wound up staying with her all day long, for as long as I could before I had to take the bus home. Held her hand, she was terrified. And then she spent 5 days in that hospital. And still terrified she was going to be sent back to a mental hospital, But she wasn't. She came home. Anyway, the whole thing about this is just it's disgusting to me that these people who handle her meds and are caregivers, in quotations, whatever, and they own her, as far as I'm concerned, they own her naive, gullible, far too trusting ass. And they are trying to shut me out in any way they can, including trying to brainwash her against me. The psychiatrist was gonna go along with that mental hospital doctor. I know this for a fact. But because he forgot to turn in the prescription to the pharmacy where it was going to be picked up, oh well, she'll have to see her primary care physician and be retested, because you can't just stop and start an antibiotic you haven't been on in days. You've got to be retested, make sure the urinary tract infection is still there and you need the antibiotic, you know. It's possible, since they're often prescribed for longer than you need, it cleared up, and we're not going to give it to you for nothing after you stopped it for the last, several days. And that's stupid. My mom doesn't understand that. Why can't I call? She called him up. Can I get this, please? No, you can't. He can't just automatically prescribe that to you. I found out that he asked for the culture, but then I said to the person, I said, when I was talking to him, asking for the culture doesn't matter. It's been days. She can't just start this antibiotic again. You're going to have to retest her to make sure she actually has the infection. But when you are put on antibiotics, even I know this, I've been put on them here or there in my life, you're supposed to continue them even if you feel better, even if whatever, you're just supposed to. You don't just abruptly stop. And in her case, it probably didn't clear up. And if something does happen to her, if her urinary tract infection is getting worse because it takes a while to get an appointment with her primary care physician, you can't just get it like that, okay? Then, who cares? Oh well, nobody's held accountable. The guy doesn't even, the doctor was so nice to have reduced her meds that drastically, and it doesn't matter because now she's on the same, because if her psychiatrist in the outside world really cared, she would follow that. She's not. She's like, just go back on the Zyprexa, back on how it was before the few days that you spent in that mental hospital under a different doctor's care, because, and then she tries to trick her, like I said, and it's the same thing. All right? It's one thing. I knew that the doctor had the sole discretion to not follow whatever my mom's put on in the mental hospital. But my mom was like, I'm doing good, and I'm sleeping, and I'm going to be on this in the outside world. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, Mom. Hopefully you will be. Because I know that 2 meds are better than 3. And you're going to be taking the Prolixin shot, and you're on the Depakote. If you had Zyprexa, it's 3 to the max instead of Prolixin pills and Prolixin shots. She was on that same regimen before. She just doesn't remember. It's disgusting that they just can't be bothered. The psychiatrist was going to go along with it, but now can't be bothered to have to write her own prescriptions for it, and just says, keep it how it was. It's not any different. It's not any different. Yes, it is. You are a fucking bitch. You're deceiving my mother. You get it?